You've been there, haven't you? The textbook open, the notes scattered around. You've been staring at the same page for the past hour, feeling the weight of that exam on your shoulders. This is for you. This isn't just about motivation for your test. This is about motivating you to change your perspective, to change your life. I understand. It feels like you're climbing a mountain, an insurmountable peak of facts, theories, dates, and equations. But remember this, every mountain, no matter how steep, started from the ground up, and so will you. So how do you start? It begins with a simple truth. Knowledge is power. Each hour you spend studying is an hour spent crafting your weapon, your shield against ignorance. Each moment of understanding is a victory, a step closer to the summit. This exam, it's not a measure of your worth. It's a measure of your commitment, your tenacity. It's a reflection of how well you can persevere. Keep your focus when the pressure mounts. Visualize your success. Picture it. Imagine walking out of that exam room, feeling light, feeling proud, feeling triumphant. That feeling is not a mere fantasy. It's a reality waiting to be grasped. Treat every challenge as an opportunity. Every tough topic you study, every tricky problem you solve is a chance for you to demonstrate your understanding, your capability, and your resilience on the exam. It's a chance to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your doubts, braver than your fears. Great things never come from comfort zones. It's when we push ourselves, when we step out of our safe spaces, that's when we truly begin to grow. It's in the struggle, in the resistance, that we become the best we can be. The night is darkest just before the dawn. These late nights, these early mornings, they might seem endless now, but they are leading you to a brighter dawn. Each sleepless night, each coffee-filled day, they are your stepping stones to success. And when you feel like you're at your limit, when you feel like you can't go on, remember why you started. Remember the dreams that fuel your fire. Remember your goals and let them guide you through the storm. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So take that step. Take it with courage, take it with determination, and remember, no matter what the outcome, you have already won. Because the real victory lies not in the result, but in the effort you put in. So when you walk into that exam room, when you sit down and face that paper, remember this. You are not defined by an exam. You are defined by the effort you put in, by the courage you show in the face of adversity, by the strength you demonstrate when the going gets tough. So go on, warrior, conquer that exam.
Welcome, Matrix, to a course on study skills. Well done on getting through your June exams. You've got July holidays, and then you've got to be thinking about prelims. Today we are going to look at learning styles. Imagine that you've just watched a music video. You just watched your favorite music video. What have you noticed? Did you notice the clothing that the artists were wearing? Did you notice the song and the music and the rhythm? Or did you notice the dance moves? If you notice the clothes specifically, perhaps you are more orientated to learning visually. And here are some practical tips that might help you. Use color and use highlighters when you're studying. Visualize what you're wanting to memorize. Try and picture the information. And use visual materials like pictures and charts and graphs and maps. If perhaps you remember most the music and the rhythm, then perhaps you are more of an auditory learner. And what we would advise that you do is that you use that as a strength. Try and listen to your prescribed readers as audiobooks. When you're studying, read the text out loud. Read it to yourself, read it to your pet, read it to your parents. But reading it out loud may be beneficial. Watch any YouTube videos that your teachers may have recommended to you. And you can use Google Notebook LM to make podcasts from your course material. If you notice the dance moves, if that was what really drew your attention, then perhaps you are more orientated to learning through movement. And what we would recommend is that study, but study with breaks. When you are studying, consider studying while standing up, or even consider studying while moving. You can take your flashcards, or you can take your books or your textbooks, and you can actually move slowly, for instance walking, while you are studying. Studying tips. Here are a few studying tips for you. Firstly, it's really important to have a studying schedule. You need to plan this in advance. You need to create a calendar where you literally mark down when you are going to study and what subject you are going to study that day. You also need to put in things like your sports and your hobbies and your breaks. Then stay committed to that schedule that you set up and keep it very simple. Another small tip is that when you are actually sitting down and studying, you do need to take breaks. Some experts recommend every 20 minutes or so, just stand up and stretch, whatever stretches come to mind. People also recommend that you set your own tests and revision questions. In the setting of questions, you're actually extending your knowledge. You're having to think, how would somebody else ask this of me? And that in itself is studying. You can also use apps like Quizlet or Google Forms to help you with this. Revisit your study notes often. Repetition is very important when studying. Understand the topic before you study it. If you don't understand something, it is very difficult to study it. So rather ask your teachers for additional information if you need to. Don't get distracted. There are so many distractions out there. What I suggest is that you move anything that is distracting away from you. If your phone is distracting, move it away from you. If a particular something else in your life is distracting, move it away so that you can stay focused. And you also need to stay positive while you study. I'm now just going to demonstrate quickly how you make flashcards. Flashcards, I feel, are a very simple and effective way of studying. I mentioned previously about repetition. Flashcards allow for very easy repetition wherever you are. Whether you are on a bus, whether you are at home, whether you are standing outside an exam venue, you can quickly pull out your flashcards and go through them again. So you just need to take a piece of paper that you have with you today. It's an A4 piece of paper. So take that A4 piece of paper and fold it so that it's that big. Then unfold it and cut it. So now you have 4 pieces of paper. Then what you need to do, and I'd like you to at least make one flashcard now, is you need to write a question on the one side and write the answer on the other. And it's that simple. So for example, I've said, what is the capital of Gauteng on the one side, and on the other side, Johannesburg. Then you make a few more of them. You've got cards in front of you, and now everywhere you go, slip these into your blazer pocket, slip them into your jacket pocket, slip them into your school bag, and just repeat this information as many times as you can, and that will help with your learning. So now you know how to make physical flashcards. We're just going to quickly discuss digital flashcards. There is the app called Quizlet. It is free to download. And in Quizlet, you can make your own flashcards, or you can find flashcards that have been pre-made. We are going to show you now how to search for pre-made flashcards once you are registered within the app. You can put the words Romeo and Juliet, for example, then various options will come up. You can select one using your own discretion, and then say start practicing. And flashcards will come up with lovely questions like, how old is Romeo? And then you flick the flashcard over and it gives you the answer that Shakespeare did not specify, but that he was most probably between the ages of 16 to 18. And here are some other examples of flashcards with the same theme. We're now going to watch a short YouTube clip.
During their training, medical residents learn countless techniques, surgeries, and procedures which they'll later use to save lives. Being able to remember these skills can quite literally be a matter of life and death. With this in mind, a 2006 research study took a class of surgical residents learning to suture arteries and split them into two groups. Each received the same study materials, but one group implemented a small change in how they studied them. And when tested 1 month later, this group performed the surgeries significantly better than the other residents. We'll discuss the secret to that group's success, along with 2 other highly effective study techniques which can be applied both in and out of the classroom. But to understand why these methods work, let's first unpack how the brain learns and stores information. Say you're trying to memorize the anatomy of the heart. When you're introduced to a new concept, the memory is temporarily encoded in groups of neurons in a brain area called the hippocampus. As you continue to learn about workings of the heart in class or study its chambers for an exam, you reactivate these same neurons. This repeated firing strengthens the connections between the cells, stabilizing the memory. Gradually, the knowledge of heart anatomy is stored long-term, which involves another brain area known as the neocortex. How information is transferred from short-term to long-term storage is still not completely understood, but it's thought to happen in between study sessions, and perhaps most crucially, during sleep. Here, the new knowledge is integrated with other related concepts you already know, such as how to measure heart rate, or the anatomy of other organs. And the process doesn't end there. Each time you recall heart anatomy, you reactivate the long-term memory, which makes it susceptible to change. The knowledge can be updated, strengthened, and reintegrated with other pieces of information. This is where our first study technique comes in. Testing yourself with flashcards and quizzes forces you to actively retrieve knowledge, which updates and strengthens the memory. Students often prefer other study methods, like rereading textbooks and highlighting notes, but these practices can generate a false sense of competence, since the information is right in front of you. Testing yourself, however, allows you to more accurately gauge what you actually know. But what if, while doing this, you can't remember the answers? Not to worry, making mistakes can actually improve learning in the long term. It's theorized that as you rack your brain for the answer, you activate relevant pieces of knowledge. Then, when the correct answer is later revealed, the brain can better integrate this information with what you already know. Our second technique builds on the first. When using flashcards to study, it's best to mix the deck with multiple subjects. Interleaving or mixing the concepts you focus on in a single session can lead to better retention than practicing a single skill or topic at a time. One hypothesis of why this works is that, similar to testing, cycling through different subjects forces your brain to temporarily forget, then retrieve information, further strengthening the memory. You may also find connections across the topics and better understand their differences. Now that you know how and what to study, our final technique concerns when. Spacing your review across multiple days allows for rest and sleep between sessions. While offline, the brain is actively at work, storing and integrating knowledge in the neocortex. So while cramming the night before the exam may seem logical, after all, won't the material be fresh in your mind? The information won't stick around for the long term. This brings us back to our medical residents. Both groups studied the surgery for the same amount of time, yet one group's training was crammed in a single day, while the other more successful group's training was spread over 4 weeks. The reason all 3 of these study techniques work is because they're designed with the brain in mind. They complement and reinforce the incredible way the brain works, sorting through and storing the abundance of information it's fed day after day.
Now we are going to talk about calming and waking strategies. We are going to look at 3 learners. Learner 1 is calm and alert. Learner 1 feels good, is emotionally stable, able to focus, ready to study, and in a good state of mind. Learner 2 is feeling anxious and worried. Learner 2 feels disorganized, unable to concentrate, and unable to study. How do we help Learner 2? Here are some strategies. Learner 2 should do straight line movement. Move in a straight line. Walk, run, ride a bike. Learner 2 should do pushing movements, such as wrestling with a sibling, doing push-ups, or push your hands together like this as hard as you can. Try it now. Learner 2 can also do pulling movements, such as chin-ups, playing tug-of-war, or playing with thick rubber bands between the hands. Now we are going to look at Learner 3. Learner 3 is feeling tired, sluggish, not up to the challenges, unable to focus, and unable to study. Here are some tips for Learner 3. Learner 3 needs waking up strategies. Learner 3 should eat sour jelly babies and eat sour worms. Not all the time, just when you're feeling sluggish. If there are sour jelly babies or sour worms in the environment that you are in at this very moment, I suggest you eat one. Drinking a cold drink, like a cold glass of water, or eating something crunchy, like a carrot or a biscuit. Spinning movements are very alerting. So doing cartwheels, spinning around on the spot, doing a handstand, those are all great movements. Fast movements, like dancing to fast music, or doing a jumping jack, or skipping with a skipping rope. Those are also very alerting. Next, we are going to watch a YouTube clip with scientific study tips. Enjoy!
Time for school, and it's no surprise that many of us are determined to study smarter instead of longer. But which study tips and tricks actually work scientifically and can help you get those perfect grades? First up, research shows that study sessions are most effective in small, short chunks. Instead of cramming in a 10-hour study session, it's much more effective to spread it out into 20, 30-minute sessions over a few weeks. This is because your brain is better at encoding information into the synapses in short, repeated sessions as opposed to one large one. And this is why even learning different skills, whether it's swimming, tennis, or a singing lesson, often follows this same format. And while cramming and pulling all-nighters may be a ritual, it turns out that this is linked to the lowest grades. After prolonged nocturnal study sessions, reasoning and memory may be negatively affected for up to 4 whole days. Instead, setting up specific times in a day or during the week just to study primes your brain by creating a routine, and over time, studying actually becomes easier as your brain is trained to learn in those moments. And while many of us spend hours passively rereading our notes or highlighting a textbook, studies have shown this to be ineffective. It doesn't improve your understanding of topics, nor does it link key concepts together. It can even be detrimental as it draws your attention to less important information. Flashcards, on the other hand, are proven to be excellent memory reinforcement tools, whether during your scheduled study times or during off times like a bus ride home. It also helps to have a specific goal for each study session. Instead of aimlessly studying, pick one aspect you'll focus on, whether it's balancing chemical equations or learning how to conjugate French verbs. If you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. In studies where individuals were asked to learn a passage, and then half were told that they would be tested on the material while the other half were told they would have to teach it to other students, participants expecting to teach it did much better at understanding the main points. When you're expecting to teach, your brain organizes the information in a more logical, coherent structure. Of course, practice, practice, practice. Not only do practice tests put your brain in the environment, but even if you make mistakes, they help identify gaps in your knowledge. Practice tests have also been shown to increase confidence, thereby leading to better performance. So, where should you be studying? Research shows that having a designated sacred spot for study that's well equipped with every tool you might need is best. Just like setting times, this primes your brain for studying. Have an awesome study playlist? Not so fast. While some studies have shown that certain types of classical music can help improve concentration, a recent study has shown that learning with rhythmic background noise can be detrimental to focus, and those not using music fared much better. And if you haven't already, put away your phone. This is a no-brainer, but your texts and social media notifications severely decrease concentration. Of course, exams can be extremely stressful, so if you want some tips on how to deal with exam anxiety, check out our ASAP Thought video, which breaks down some tips for that. Link in the description. And a big thank you to TD Bank for sponsoring this video. If you're heading to campus this fall, click on the link below or visit td.com/student to see how TD can help you start school with a plan. We know how tough it can be getting buried in books and bills, and TD has some great solutions for you. Be sure to check it out.
Everybody has a turn back moment. You have a moment where you can go forward or you can give up. But the thing you have to keep in mind before you give up is that if you give up, the guarantee is it will never happen. That's the guarantee of quitting, that it will never happen no way under the sun. The only way the possibility remains that it can happen is if you never give up no matter what.
Welcome, all the matrics, parents and educators. Firstly, I want to say congratulations. You've come this far. You have made it from grade 1. You have completed up until grade 11 and you are halfway through your matric year. It is nearly there. You are nearly at the end, and we really want to encourage you and give you some tips to help you to be successful in completing your matric. So here are some ideas how to set yourself up for success. Stress management is important for all of us, but particularly in your matric year. You have just about completed your June exams, you have prelims and finals to go. So it's important to take care of yourself, to manage your stress, to reach your optimum potential. Set up your environment for success. Ensure that you have a dedicated space that is as quiet as possible, or play soft, brain-friendly music. Music that works with the frequency of your brain and not against it. Ensure you have the best light possible, and in times of load shedding, it might be necessary to have candles or a solar torch. Having an exam timetable that is visible and color-coded is really helpful, both for you as the learner and your parents. If it is visible, for example, on the fridge or on the wall, then you all know what is coming up and you all know what is expected, and you can work together as a team. A study timetable using the same colors that you use for your exam timetable is useful. For example, if you make English red for your exam timetable, make English red on your study timetable. Sometimes it's hard to perceive time. I'm going to show you the calendar of the year. If you look at the year calendar, January, February, March, April and May are done, and June is just about done as well. Crossing out the months gives you an idea to see how close you are towards the end of the year. If you have a look, September, you can expect your preliminary exams, and November your finals. So you basically have July and August before your prelims, and then October
before your finals, so the time is running quickly. Having a monthly calendar is useful to put your exams and using the color codes that I mentioned before. When you mark off what you have studied, it's really motivating to see that you are moving forward towards reaching your goals. Make sure you set yourself realistic times. For example, study 45 minutes and take a 15-minute break, 45 minutes and take a break. Using past papers is really helpful. Try and source this, or we can assist you to source these booklets. Resource it's from the government department, and there are QR codes that lead you to past papers for each and every matric subject. What we advise, when you use past papers, don't just test yourself because you will use what you know, but rather use the past paper to analyze what are the questions that are asked most often, and then look for the answers in your textbooks and in your notes so that you use it as a study technique to learn the correct information rather than test yourself on what might or might not be so correct. So, sleep is essential for optimal brain function. In order to concentrate well and to remember well, you need to have had a good night's sleep. Not just the hours, which is ideally 7 to 8 hours sleep per night, it's also the quality of sleep that you need to take into account. One of the most important factors is to keep your phone away from you at night. Charge your phone in another room and set yourself a bedtime alarm as well as a wake-up alarm. For example, set your bedtime at 9:30 or 10:30, and you know that is when you're going to sleep. And then you leave your phone and go and switch off and let your brain do the work in the night. Screen time is really important. We need to sacrifice in order to do well. So sacrificing time of scrolling on your phone is really worth it to do well in your matric. You've seen on the calendar there are only a few months left. You can spend a lot of time on your phone once you're done with your matric, but for now, do not replace your study time with your phone, but rather be intentional with choosing to focus on your work and to reach your goals, to reach your dreams. It takes self-control, but you can do it. You've come this far and you're nearly there. It's important that your phone is out of sight for it to be out of mind. We all know when that ping goes, we can't resist to have a look. So turn off the sound, turn off the phone. It's only temporary. Eating well is important, as well as is possible, so that you can have a stable blood sugar for studying. Avoid energy drinks which give you a high and they give you a low. Avoid high sugar and high caffeine, and try and keep your blood sugar stable by eating healthy snacks and eating regularly throughout the day. Drinking lots of water is very important to keep your brain hydrated. Those of you who are on medication need to confirm that you're on the right dose and to take it at the right time. If you are writing exams in the afternoon, it's important to shift your time or to have a top-up dose. Supplements, if it is possible, consider omegas, vitamins, vitamin C to keep you strong. Pharmacies do offer vitamin B injections which help for stress, and magnesium helps you to sleep better. Exercising is a very important part of stress management, especially when you're spending a lot of time studying indoors. Being outdoors is important to get sunshine, to do some kind of sport or gym or walk, to play with a pet, or even to download a YouTube exercise plan such as the 7 minutes a day one. Relaxing. This is very important as well, especially for those who are highly stressed and working very hard. Set yourself time to relax that is guilt-free. If you know that you've put in the hours with studying, you can give yourself the time to relax. Choose music that is relaxing. Be creative and have fun, playing with pets or talking with friends. Having a change of environment is very valuable. For example, eating in a different place. What happens when you're writing an exam and you feel really anxious? Try and prevent it by setting yourself up for success before the exam, by eating before to have a stable blood sugar, And please ensure that you are ready early and in time for school. We know that you have to be seated an hour before the exam, so make sure that you are there well in time so that you can relax and not add added stress prior to the exam. If you feel a sense of stress during your exam, it's good to do breathing exercises, something that will not interfere with those around you. Take a deep breath in, hold it there, and a long exhale out. And again, you take a deep breath in, hold it there, and exhale. Giving yourself deep pressure is valuable, such as giving yourself a squeeze or a hug, or even a push-up on the chair. Deep pressure into your joints, such as your wrists, elbows, and shoulders, causes relaxation in the brain. And if you feel a sense of panic, stop, close your eyes, do the deep breathing, give yourself 1 to 2 minutes, and start again. It is better to stop and to reset and start again. You will make up the time by being relaxed rather than trying to work through the panic. To be successful in your matric year, it's really important for learners, parents, and educators to work together. Together you can conquer this and you can achieve your very best. It's the final stretch. You've seen the countdown. You've come this far. You are nearly there. It will be worth it to put in all you can for the next few months for that certificate which will stay with you for the rest of your life. Sometimes, in order to do well in our matric year, it's helpful to have a picture of where you are going forward, to have a vision of what you're actually working towards. So, just giving you some ideas of some post-matric options. There are colleges such as the TVET colleges in all various branches throughout the country, and trade training centres, as well as the more well-known colleges and universities. If you feel like funding is holding you back, like you can't study further because of it, there are options. The government has bursary or loan options for NSFAS, which is dependent on the family income. If you do have any diagnosis such as ADHD, ASD, epilepsy, you can get a doctor's letter, and that also assists in applying for a government bursary through NSFAS. Funza Lushaka is education bursaries for those who want to go into teaching, also a government initiative. There are others such as Solidaritate, and certain colleges and universities one can contact for options where they can assist, how you can apply for financial assistance. So don't let that stop you looking forward. There are ways and means. If you are unsure of what you want to do, there are a number of free online career guidance websites that you can do your own assessment. You can have a look at the list. Remember, you have a hope and a future. What you are doing now is setting you up not just for a successful matric, but for a successful future thereafter.
Success requires 8 key things. Most people overlook number 8 and never reach true success. Number 1, hard work. Forget about luck. It's all about hard work, believe me. Number 2, patience. If you're losing patience, you're losing the battle. Number 3, sacrifice. If you don't sacrifice for what you want, then what you want becomes the sacrifice. Number 4, consistency. Consistency transforms the average into the extraordinary. Number 5, discipline. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going strong. Number 6, self-confidence. It's not about whether they like you, it's about knowing you'll be just fine if they don't. Number 7, a positive attitude. It might not solve every problem, but it'll definitely irritate the naysayers. And number 8, focus. Keep your eyes on your goals, not the obstacles.
Hi guys. I know you've now listened to people speaking, you've watched videos, and you just finished your exams. You are tired and you're really not in the mood to listen to this, but preparing for an exam is what is the rest of your year. you have to get ready for your prelims and your finals coming up very, very soon. We all have some common, let's call it excuses, but there is a reality check to them. The excuses we all tend to use is, I'll start tomorrow. Are you really putting in the best effort? I don't need to study, I know it already. Is that truly the best that you can do? It is so boring. Why do I need to know this work? How do these excuses actually impact your exam performance? Some more of these excuses includes, I'm too tired. But are you too tired to go out with your friends? To have a great social life, but academically you have a problem? It is too much work. How long have you known about that assignment? How long have you known that the exam is on this specific date? I can't remember it anyway. Who got you in this situation? If you start now, you have enough time. These excuses are used by everybody, but these are just what the word says, excuses. It's not reasons. Some common mistakes that people make in exams and that you should seriously avoid if you can in any way is failing to read the instructions and just scan through a question. That way you're going to miss the actual content that gets asked. If you fail to allocate the right amount of time to something, that is when you have that panicky moment of not being able to finish this thing in the allocated time. You get stuck on a question and then you sit and stare at it as if the answer is magically going to pop out of the paper. It's not going to happen. Or misinterpreting a question and giving an answer and giving a very lengthy answer that is not relevant to the actual question. So you did not underline the key words so that you can answer the question that was asked. Exam strategies starts off with reading. You have to read your questions thoroughly. Make sure, because some questions are scaffolding questions. It's name something and explain. Then you only name and you wonder why you're losing marks. Take a highlighter. Mark off what you have to do and how much of it you have to do so that your answer can actually answer the question that was asked. Plan longer answers. I'm not a fan of a mind map, but if there's a time to use one, it's in a longer answer. Answer the actual question and stick to the point. Just writing pages and pages and pages of answers, that's a waffa, like I would call it, then you are not going to get the results that you plan on getting. So, if you do a multiple choice question, first and foremost, let me just say you never leave out a multiple choice question. You have a 25% chance of being correct, even if you guess. Not that I'm saying that you have to guess it, but if you read the question, you answer it in your head before you look at the options. If you then read through the options, A, B, C, D, and you see, oh, here's my answer, then you're done. If your answer does not pop up there, now it's a process of elimination. Which ones definitely do not go with the actual question? If you then still are not sure, you might have a little bit of a problem, and now there's words like never, always, and none. Those things very often makes the actual question not true. Carefully read through that, but like I said, just never leave out a multiple choice question. That is the biggest mistake you can make. That is easy marks if you actually handle it well. If you essay questions or longer questions, why you need to plan it is because you guys start to answer, but then you get off topic, and then you get back onto topic, and you get off topic, and you get back onto topic, and you're going to lose all those marks. When you start off, this is the one time that you actually need to do a little mind map. Just your main thought and then look at your question. What do they want? They want 3, they want this, and you put your stuff in a little order, not a long planning session, but a planning session so that you can actually write a cohesive and a logical answer. If you present your exam paper, now you have to remember your papers up to now has been marked by people that know little Johnny and know that little Johnny really doesn't spell well, or that little Johnny doesn't write very neatly, so they have grace and care in their hearts. The people marking it off-site don't know you from a bar of soap. Your job is to make your answers as easy to read as possible. I always tell my grade 12s, exams aren't the time to save paper. You have to leave a line open between all your answers, whether it's an instruction or not. It's easier to read, and that makes it easier for the marker to actually enjoy marking your paper. You have to stick to the rules. Follow the instructions. If the instructions are to write in a blue pen, that is what you do. If it says don't write in a margin, you do not write in a margin. Carefully number your answers. Make sure that your numbering is exactly as it is there. You cannot use bullets if something is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to focus on those small details so that the answers that you give actually match the questions. Your time during an exam is something that you have to manage very, very carefully. In the beginning of most of the exams, it will say you should allocate this amount of time to section A, this amount of time to section B, but not everybody reads the same pace. So that is your personal approach is the better option here. If you get to a question that you are not sure of, you don't really know what to do, you mark that on your exam paper and you leave open enough space. Carry on. There's a reticular activation system in your brain that's going to keep on thinking about that. But now you're going to spend so much time trying to figure that out that you will not move on to the next one. And you are going to lose marks for things that you really do know because you don't have time to complete it. Cross out your rough work. It says that in the beginning of every paper 3 or even paper 2 in the languages, but you forget to do that. If it's not crossed out, it is part of what is being marked. You must clearly indicate this is rough work. This is not to be marked. Just cross through those actual answers. There's action verbs. If you've done any other assignment, you will see in the beginning of the assignment, it will give you that. What does these words mean? Earlier on I said you don't answer the actual question. Now this is how you answer the actual question. There's a difference between these things. If you have to analyze, if you have to calculate or comment or compare, each word has a different meaning and it gives you a different instruction as to what the question requires you to do. If you have to analyze, you cannot give a 2-word answer. It has to be a detailed answer so that they can see that you get the meaning. If you have to identify elements, you're not writing sentences, you are identifying it. If you have to name 5, list 5, you cannot write full sentences, even though you think it's a wonderful answer that you're giving. It's the first 5 words that they're looking at. If you have to compare, you have to identify similarities and you have to actually identify the differences. That is how you compare something. If you have to evaluate, you have to judge the quality. You've got to give the value. It's a detailed answer. If they say explain, you have to set out the reasons or make the links to explain why you are saying something. There's words like describe. if you have to describe something to somebody that has never seen it before, that is how you describe something. It's not vague, it's very, very detailed, because that person afterwards needs to know that you know what it is, so that they can know what it is. Always go from the premise that the person marking the paper doesn't know you and they don't know what you mean. Half sentences are that, half sentences. If you describe in detail so that that person sees what effort, not just effort in terms of this is a very long answer, effort in terms of I have put in all the details required. I've stuck to the point. You said discuss 3, I have discussed 3. Not 4 because you know 4, discuss 3. If you have to prepare now for an exam, your best friend is a past exam paper. You hear that from every teacher, and everybody gives you past papers and they give you memorandums, and it's wonderful. But why is that such a good way to actually prepare for an exam? It doesn't take the place of studying, step 1. Step 2, you need to understand that you then get used to the type of questions, how they ask it. Because one of those beginning excuses that we did is they asked it differently to the way I've studied it. Yes, they are not going to ask it straight from your textbook because they don't necessarily use the same textbook. If you practice an exam, the one thing everybody seems to forget is that this is against a specific time frame. You can't sit for 7 hours and work through a math paper. You don't have 7 hours to complete a math paper. You've got to get used to using the specific amount of time allocated and then see what you can produce in that time. How far do you get? How effectively do you answer this? If ever there's a time to be honest with yourself is when you go through your past papers and you mark them critically to see where you had made a mistake. That is what you learn through, is how did I answer this? How could I change that? You've got to create your schedule, like they've said previously, and you've got to stick to it. Not your mom, nobody else. You have to. You are the one that has to end up with the NSC at the end of this year. There is a lot of power in persistence. Now, persistence, love the word, it is just keep on carrying on. It is a very short time that is left, and it's a very long time that is left. It just depends on your point of view. If you put in the effort daily and you work hard daily, there's a reason there's a saying that said hard work pays off, because it does. You have to believe in your own ability to finish something, to work hard, to get the right amount of effort into it. You need to find the way that motivates you, to keep motivated throughout this whole process, so that you can, at the end of the year, by the end of November, say, I have given it my everything, I've put in all the effort, I am eagerly awaiting my results. Yes, it might not be the results that you dream for yourself, but if you have put in the effort, chances of your results being better than you planned is a very, very good one. In conclusion, if you apply these things, your exam performance will improve. If you believe in yourself and your abilities, and you actually work hard, not say that I worked hard. I've been in my room working very hard with the door closed on various other things, but if you really focus on what you're doing, the results will show that. Prepare and practice for your exams, and it will actually pay off. Good luck, and I hope that you, by the end of this year, can look back proudly and say, I have given it my all. Thank you.
Time is the one resource you can't get back. Are you spending yours on what truly matters? Every day, every hour is an opportunity. You have dreams waiting to be realized. Don't leave them on the shelf. Set your priorities, cut distractions. Make your actions today align with your goals tomorrow. Remember, a small step taken daily becomes a giant leap over time. Don't waste today worrying about tomorrow. Now is where the power is. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Each second is precious. Rise up and take control of your time. Make each second count and watch your life transform.